We're rolling, rolling, and rolling.
I mean, we are.
It looks like we got flashing lights all over the place. All right, so it's all happening. All right, so here we are on the Pagey train. Today I have with me David Hoey, a director, writer, actor of Granny Flat Pictures. Welcome, David Hoey.
Cheers, Roscoe.
Man, it's just an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. You're just one of those guys that's kicking goals all over town.
I try. But I'm trying not to pull a hamstring while doing it all.
Well, you have pulled a few bits of glassware that's made in the West.
Have I? Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, they're pretty, aren't they?
They are, man.
Yeah.
Well, I like to make sure that you guys feel really good when you hold on to those awards.
You do, man. You do. They're beautiful.
They are, they are the shiznit.
Yeah.
But man, you do short films, you're doing a lot of comedy at the moment.
Yeah.
Loving it, by the way.
Good. I'm happy someone's loving it.
Yeah. You're getting some good hits out there. You're doing all right. It's starting to pick up.
No, we're just trying. That's the goal. Yeah.
Well, before we get into the comedy side of things, let's just check out some of your older films. Do you mind if we have a look at Recollection?
Oh, wow. Throwing it on back.
Yeah.
Wow.
Take you back to the beginning.
The whole thing?
No, not the whole thing.
Oh, goodness gracious.
We're just gonna roll and talk. Talk.
You know how it is.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So Recollection was your first director, writer?
Yeah. Like I mean, in terms of what's online and that sort of thing, obviously we have our firsts that go way back when.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my first film that I ever made wasn't a short film. It wasn't a skit. It wasn't anything like that. It was an attempt at a full-length feature film called The Aussie Avengers. So I was in year 10, and I thought, nah. If I want my career to take off in year 10, I gotta do it the right way. So I wrote up like 100 pages of this script in Microsoft Word.
Mm-hmm.
And I just took all my favorite characters, five of my favorite heroes from pop culture, 5 of my favorite villains, chucked them all in a film, and I was just like, but we make them Australian. How good is that? You know, I was like, this is just next level. This is going to put me up to Scorsese, man.
Yeah.
And we did 3 days of shooting, all out of order. I just wrangled together anyone who said yes, and pretty much just went out and did this thing, and I'm like, why doesn't everything look the way it's meant to look? Why am I so stressed out? This should all be, the script is killer. There's no holes in this thing. And basically there was this one day where I was filming the climax of the film. 4 days in, I had all my mates in my backyard, and I had 253 shots on the shot list for the day for an 8-hour shoot, and I'm like, I can do it.
Wow,
I'm the director.
250 shots in a day.
Yeah, so we got through 4 shots in 3 hours, and I thought, this isn't for me. I should probably give up on this thing. And that's the day that project crumbled. So technically, Recollection comes a little bit further down the timeline than my first feature film, Aussie Avengers. But no, Recollection was my first film that I made with my friends at film school. I think we were kind of all looking for an excuse to make a movie, and I think this was one of the first that we made as a crew, and it was for a really good cause of a film festival called Focus on Ability, and it just was like the perfect excuse to just make something. And Matt in the film is one of my good friends. Looking back on it now, though, I mean, it's hard to look at any film that you've made in the past. And
I think it's funny to look back. It's funny to look back.
And also, like, just you're always kind of refining your voice as a filmmaker. And I look at this right now, and I'm like, who's the stranger that wrote and directed this compared to what I'm doing now? I mean, you know.
Yeah, but comparatively, comparisons are important. Don't get me wrong. I think it's okay to look back.
Yeah.
Because it's okay to see those foundations. Like you know, just going into like talking about making a feature-length film in year 10, I think that really is telling to your desire to be a filmmaker.
Yeah, it's interesting because I made that, but I still feel even now something like that feature film is more accurate to my voice as a filmmaker than this. I feel like this is probably the most, I mean, here's some colour. It's a dream sequence. I still like dream sequences, so maybe...
There's some good compositing going on in there.
But, you know, I love that guy. Love him.
Love him.
But, yeah, I just... I think it's always good to look at something like this though, because I think it's well shot. Shout out to my cinematographer Julian, and fantastic actor, and it was a great learning experience to kind of go, well, I made something, but maybe it wasn't necessarily mine to make, or even just like theatrically, it's not really what I want to do. There's a Ferris wheel. Why is there a Ferris wheel? You know?
But it's very pretty, man. Like, I think you got to find your voice, and I think this is part of that journey of finding your voice.
Ferris wheels or not? Why is that in there? Shot of the eyes. Wow, dramatic. If you look into his eyes real deep, you can see me. Literally.
So there you go. There's a nice little composite there. Nice that's got to be happy with that. So was this for film school?
No, this wasn't for film school. This was for the Focus on Ability Film Festival.
Oh, so it was just for that festival?
Yeah. But this was like something that like everyone at film school was like, we should make something. We're all filmmakers. Let's make something. Yeah. So, you can say that so many times before you actually do it. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to work out the ratio for myself. Like, how many film projects are you going to get on, and how many you're actually going to achieve?
Yeah.
I've just I hate to use the word shelved. It's like some scripts I've shelved, but some I consider that are just on the back burner, just waiting for either the budget or the time to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like that's interesting because so many of the ideas that I have, sometimes they could be just like a character or a scene, and I'm like, that doesn't fit in that film, that doesn't work as a short film. That's kind of why I made Granny Flat, because I had these characters, but I'm like, well, they can't really fit in a short film. I don't think they'll carry a narrative, but maybe they're good for like a 2-minute skit or something like that. Like, I've kind of tried to find ways in which I can just get all this stuff out, and even if there's just like an idea for a scene, usually I'll just take it, recycle it, and put it in a different film that I make.
Like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with turning it over again. There's a few that I've done that, I think. But I guess when I was like back at film school, and I was looking at how I was going to approach something, I'd tend to pick different scenes. Like, I wanted to do a fight scene, so I made a film with a fight scene in it.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a sci-fi, so I did something a bit, sci-fi-esque.
Yeah. I see I don't know if that's on camera.
It is, yeah.
We got some alien action there.
Oh man, they're just a part of the influences in my life, man. Like,
I love this place.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone can see all of it, but it's
man, pretty much. But this is
a whole cave.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's the Still Searching Productions headquarters. This is where it all happens, man.
So good, man. I love it.
I spend a lot of hours in the chair doing editing. And it's one of those I love-hate relationships. Sometimes you get frustrated, but sometimes you're just up until 4 a.m. and you don't even know the time.
Yeah,
and I love those moments.
I love them. Mum hates them. Like, she comes in. Oh, what are you doing? Still up?
Yeah.
Couldn't you have done this earlier? Well, I was doing it earlier. Now I'm doing it later.
Well, are you a night worker or are you like a morning person? Because I'm a night owl.
Well, it's writing. I can find myself really clicking late, but with editing, it's just really however long it takes. Especially with something like Granny Flight, if I need to turn around something on like on the weekly schedule, or if I've promised a release date, like I got to pump towards that. So I'll be up in the chair for hours. Sometimes the sun will come up. Who knows? It's really bad for the sleep pattern, but you just got to do what you got to do.
Well, I think the chair is a scary place, like especially when you're doing work in collaboration, because you've got to represent everyone.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you've got multiple editors, like I have this game where I with some of the guys that I work with, I'll be like, all right, see when they crack it before they get out of the chair. I'm like, oh, you got an hour in, that's all right.
Yeah.
I can beat your hour. I'm going to do 2. But you made some other cool things as well. You've got what was the other one that you've made? Labor of Love. Labor of Love, yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that one because, well, that was just me being fascinated with my grandparents and my grandparents' story. Because I didn't really realize, so that was for film school, but I didn't realize how much it was really for me as well, and maybe for my family, I'd hope. But I'd always been so fascinated by my grandparents. They came from Malta like half a century ago on a boat with nothing. Worked the most, just every job you could on a farm, lived in pig sheds, just came with nothing and just built up everything, and just yeah, I just thought it was such a good story of just like how hard work can pay off, and just the patriarchs of my family, and just all the sacrifices they've made to give me opportunities. And I think that their story was fascinating enough to make into a documentary. So when film school was like, yeah, we got to make a documentary, I was like, well, you know, what do I find interesting? That's a true story. And I just was like, well, that's a perfect excuse.
Well, they do say, like, if you're going to make a documentary, make something that's close to your heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're going to make it with a bit of passion, especially if it's your first shot at doing a documentary. I think the first film I did was a documentary. Might have been one of the first. I did mine on, it was called Bum, Behind Unsigned Metal. Because we were out there trawling like venues in Sydney, trying to get on the scene, and like just borrowing and stealing, and just like trying to convince promoters to put us on. And it was such an effort. But that's something that I found passionate.
Yeah.
And I really got sunk my teeth into it.
Yeah.
You get to interview everyone and talk about why they're doing it, and talk about their passions. But it's funny how one thing leads on to the other. Like, did A Labour of Love lead you onto another project? Or?
Yeah, it actually did. Kind of like the grandparents documentaries. I've almost like nestled into this niche. So I'll make my comedy, I'll make my short films. But in terms of documentary, I found that I love making documentaries about people who have a really unique story or like a background that I just find fascinating. So my nunno, this guy, he's just the I don't know how to describe. Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of shown in the documentary, but he's just like rough around the edges, but such a soft guy. He's just the best, the most interesting, funny person I know. And it's kind of like characters like him that really interest me. And so it was really easy to make this, and I was so passionate about it. I think this will probably be like, I don't think I'll ever really top this in terms of projects that I really love as much, because this is like, it's a family story and that sort of thing. I might top it, but yeah. So this led to look, we always got to strive for it, right?
I think you're more talking about the emotional context. Though.
Well, sorry, the emotional context. My connection to the material is literally in my blood. So, I mean, you know, that's a little bit biased, but this led to another project. So my cinematographer Julian, essentially his stepdad's mother, her name is Tamara Beckier, and she has this incredible story of escaping concentration camps. She grew up in World War II and in like war-torn Europe, and fled the country to come to Australia to build a better life. And she just has the most incredible stories of literally being experimented on and taken by Nazi Germany.
Fuck, man, that's hardcore.
It's just like the most incredible story, and it was really daunting to take on that project because I'm doing all this comedy stuff, and next minute I'm dealing with something real, with a really deep historical context. Yeah, it was a really good,
because you got to do that justice, right? Like, that's why I'd find something.
Yeah, exactly. Really so it was really good to actually go, well, you really got a responsibility here to make something and tell it right, and that just took a bunch of research. But we went down with a 3-person crew to Melbourne to shoot that, because she lives in Ballarat. And she was just the most... It's so interesting to interview someone like her and make a documentary on her life, because she's like, why are you making a documentary on me? I'm just an ordinary person. That's an honest thing. That's not just her being humble. That's her perspective. And I'm like...
Yeah, it's like, you know, a step back from humble. It's like,
the stories she has are just wicked. But yeah, she has this really remarkable thing. Well, she's an artist at the moment by trade. She makes these incredible abstract artworks, and she enrolled in art school when she was 50 years old in Ballarat. And it's just so many elements to her make her this extraordinary character that's just come from this background where she's seen things that no one should ever see, and she takes that, puts it into art, and other people get to appreciate that. Like,
well, it's great to express yourself. Maybe it's running in your veins, man. You know.
But that came from this. So Julian, I think it was his mum, saw this and was like, "Oh, you should just bring that crew down and make something," because they wanted to make a documentary on a story, as you obviously would want to. And she's writing a book at the moment. So
wow.
Yeah.
Do you know the name of the book?
Do I know the name of the book? I think I heard a working title of the book. I don't know.
But sorry to put you on the spot.
No, I actually don't. I don't remember.
Well, when it comes out, make sure you put it out and check it out on Dave Hoy's site.
Oh, I will do. And the documentary's at the moment it's called A Fortunate Life, because that's what she describes her life as.
Okay, that's intense, man.
Yeah, really intense, but just someone who just she's like, this is just what my life was. Let's get on with it.
Well, it's one of those things. Like, I guess sometimes when someone's down and you're giving them advice, right? I have this tendency to say to them, you know, count the things you've got. Don't count the things that you don't possess, because you can't use the things you don't possess.
Yeah,
you can only use what you possess, and I think that's an optimistic way of looking at things.
Yeah,
you know, and I think that's just, I really resonate with that. That's just
yeah. I think the story is just going to rock so many people's world. Like, I mean, making the documentary, I mean, it's daunting making sure that it's done right. But I feel like just with a character like my grandfather, like Tamara, they just have these stories that just tell themselves. I just ask the questions, and they just go on about it. And I just found myself like, you know, usually when we're shooting a documentary or we're just getting coverage, I'll be over Julian's shoulder, like making sure we're framed up right. But he just had to kind of take it for his own during some of these interviews, because I'd just be talking to Tamara and she'd be telling me this stuff. I totally forget that we're shooting a documentary. I didn't even know the camera's rolling. Like, I don't know if I'm not thinking about anything. Like, it's just when you're talking to someone that interesting, you just it just goes.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, man.
Loved it.
I did a documentary for Misty's family. It was about them escaping the Iron Curtain.
Oh wow!
And then because I was on camera doing, Misty was doing the interview.
Yeah.
But then sometimes, you know, you got to give a bit of direction. Oh, can you just rephrase that way to make it all piece together? And I found myself sometimes hiding behind the camera. You know, it was just that intense. Like the things that these people had to say about what they were doing, and being so close to them. It really, you know, it's a bit of an emotional roller coaster, because you're that invested in doing it right.
Yeah,
I totally dig that, man. That's like really cool.
That's awesome. That sounds like a great project. Is
no, well, it's more of a personal project.
Okay,
because it had elements of us, those kids going back to Slovakia to reconnect with their family.
Oh wow!
And it was us generation that went back, and I filmed all of us having a fun time, like fireworks and getting drunk and like eating and talking shit. And then in between all that, I did all these interviews that were about how the family immigrated to Australia.
Yeah.
And then how those two things tie together, because it took the sacrifice. Like you're talking about, it's just sacrifice and looking at the the optimism in the situation.
Yeah.
From a really difficult situation, leaving people that you love.
Yeah.
Leaving your home to go to a foreign place to make a new life.
Yeah.
Takes fucking balls, man.
Massive balls.
Massive balls to do that. And here we are as filmmakers, and we're like, oh, we got to do this film justice, right? And I think it takes balls to do that, but I don't think they're anywhere near the iota of what the stories that we're telling, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good way to sort of recognise what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you do, like, I think perhaps like we do have a duty as filmmakers to tell a story, and I think I see that in your work.
Yeah.
You're certainly telling a story, like a year of play. What inspired you to do a year of play?
Year without play?
A year without play.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Year with play. That would have been real bad for the character if it was a year of his playing. What inspired me? Well, the film is obviously about a recovering gambling addict, and that idea kind of came from a pretty harmless weekend of, I just turned 18, and obviously the lockout laws are a thing. What's open 24/7? The Star Casino. So, I went to the Star Casino on the Saturday night. You see the flashing lights of the pokie machines, the sounds, the intoxicating environment, and then the next night I went to an arcade with my girlfriend, and the arcade's the same thing, flashing lights and all these sounds, and I thought, well, that's interesting enough. So what if there was a gambling addict who gets his interests, his past catches up with him by the external catalyst of just an arcade or something like that. Again, this is a film that I look back on, and it's one of those things, it's like a learning curve. So it came on from a pretty harmless experience, but if I was to go back and do that again, I'd want to tell that right, because I remember even at Made in the West, you interviewed me and you're like, well, what do you want people to take away from the film? And I was just like, I don't know. Actually, I was just kind of stumped, and I think that was because I wasn't actually thinking about what I was really trying to say. And even watching it back now, I just feel like it's confused. But I mean, theatrically and through like the visual language of it, I think there's definitely my voice in that. But I think in terms of the story I was trying to tell, it just wasn't really there.
So you're talking about in terms of arc, getting, asking a question, answering a question, and then posing another sort of question.
Yeah, and it almost, when I look back on it, it kind of like undercuts. I mean, I might just be too critical on myself with it.
I think a lot of us are.
Well, yeah, but like I just think the topic of addiction and gambling, like I've done more research into it more recently, and it's not really. I don't see the humor in it. I marketed that film as a comedy, and now I just, I've met people and talked to people that have these stories about how they've lost everything through it. And I think if I was to do that again, I'd want to do it right and stop like going for
not so much tongue in cheek.
Yeah, and also not comparing someone's like life. Something like gambling addiction that can ruin someone's life, relegating that to someone getting triggered by an arcade or something like that.
I don't know. Look, I think I took something else away from the film, because you got to, you go through the author. You're looking at it from an author point of view.
Yeah.
But from an audience point of view, I saw a relationship between the flashing lights and the the hook. That's what gambling is, right? It's a hook.
Yeah.
And when especially I'm going to sound old here. Back in my day, you'd go to the arcade, you'd play Street Fighter, you'd play pinball, you would. I think one of my big ones was Terminator 2, and I figured out you could spend $30 and you get to the end, right?
Yeah.
It is a system that is designed not to let you win on $1.
Yeah.
It is a system designed to come close to your death and almost get there, so you put in another $1.
Yeah.
Or, and I'm proving my age again.
Yeah.
It's probably more like $2, $3 these days.
Yeah.
But I think perhaps there is a relationship between us being young and being, hooked by images and hooked by sound and having those dopamine rushes in your brain.
Yeah.
And I think there's a relationship between that and gambling, because they're the same system.
Yeah, well, I don't want to tear the film down, because I think a lot of people did a lot of great work in that, and that film led to some really good things. I'm still happy to show that film as an example of what I could do as a director, or like some of the dialogue that I can write. And also there was some great actors and a crew involved with that, and I don't want to undercut any of that work. It's just like one of those things that I made it when I was 18 or 19, but I was still in my early understanding of these things.
Pretty boss film for someone who's 19, dude.
Thanks. I think you
did the right job.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you actually giving me a platform to screen that thing.
Yeah, man. I think it was well received at Made in the West.
Absolutely. Oh, that was really, really cool to get my first kind of film festival reaction to a film that I'd done.
Well, the thing is, it's something that comes up a lot. It's like there's a difference between distributing your stuff online and getting those views to actually sitting in amongst an audience watching.
Because you never really know. Like, I mean, you can show your inner circle a skit and they can be laughing, but you're like, oh, I wonder if like there'd be a sketch out there that might have a couple thousand views, and I'm like, I wonder how many of those 1,000 people actually laughed at that. Except when you're in a theater, there's no skirting around it. You have 400 people in the room,
and they're going to be pretty honest about it.
Yeah, and you're gonna hear it, and that's what I love about film festivals and live screenings and that sort of thing. Because I got into filmmaking through acting in like the theater. Like that's how I got into the creative arts, because in high school I was encouraged to pursue this, whether I liked it or not. I wanted to be a soccer player when I was growing up, but my drama teacher was like, you should probably just buckle down in drama a little bit. And I was like, drama, come on now, I want to be a footballer. I can't be doing that artsy shit. I don't want to be doing that. But I kind of it turned around when I was able to perform a character to an audience, and they'd feel something or they'd respond in some way, and just that feeling of getting a live reaction to your work. I think from doing stuff in theatre than coming into film and then being able to watch like a film with an audience. Just live reaction is just something else.
Yeah, it's the raw interface, man.
Yeah.
It's totally raw.
Yeah.
It's just you and them. And they may not know that you're in there doing it.
Yeah.
But you're in that room watching that film with those people.
Yeah.
And it
gives you a whole new perspective on the film as well.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you're like, is that funny? Was that funny? Was that meant to be funny? I don't know.
Well, I didn't mind the fact that A Year Without Play was a comedy, because I think by bringing a funny side to it, like I get what you're saying about how gambling destroys people.
Yeah.
But I think by bringing comedy to it, it brings it and normalizes it so that we can talk about it. Because if it's at the extreme scale of being, really taboo and really difficult to get around,
Yeah.
I think by getting a laugh out of people, we can then have a discourse
Yeah.
about it. And I think, I get what you're saying, where perhaps you could have been more focused in how you created your art.
Yeah.
But I totally expressed that I don't think there's anything wrong with the comedy side of
Yeah.
it. I think it's a smart approach. I think it's something that you've done through heart.
Yeah, well, I think it's just it comes down to just like, it's important as a filmmaker to be critical of your work, learn from stuff, and I think that's just something that I've been critical of and I've learned from. That's just what I've expressed
your journey.
here. But I don't think I'm done with that. It's actually a topic I'm pretty passionate about, and particularly amongst young people, it's a big thing. You can talk about how people have lost their houses and.
Well, you think of
and their
pokies, you think of
families,
pensioners. You think of pensioners.
Pensioners, right? But what about the people who are getting their pay packets every week and they're like, "Oh, I'm young and dumb, and I can spend my money. Or I could buy shoes."
Well, but now there's a separation now. I think that they're going on to their
yeah.
phones, man. You can do pokies on your phone. You can
So
do
I think-
sports betting. I think it's a dangerous thing.
I know.
know?
I really do, and I think there's a story there that I'd like to tell, but this time I want to do it the right way with the right characters, but from like still an interesting perspective, and there'll still be elements of comedy in there. I'm not saying that I can't explore this territory with comedy. It's just about the way that you do it.
Yeah.
I think there's maybe
really
a smarter
that.
way of doing it, but here's my IMDb with my.
Oh, look, man. Speaking of your IMDb, dude.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
obviously, before doing a podcast, you do a little bit of research. Like, already knew a little bit about you, obviously through Made in the West
Yeah.
and your online presence.
Yeah.
But you do a little bit of extra homework and you go onto different sites. So I go onto IMDb, and according to IMDb, you were a actor on E Street. I've got a few of them here.
What year was that?
Return to Jupiter, Water Rats. And I'm like, hold on. And I'll go back through, and you were born in like 98.
I'm born on May 3rd, 1998.
But some of these are made in like 92, 91. So
Okay, so
'cause I was curious, what the hell is going on with that?
Okay, so I get a call the other day from someone that I work with, and they were just checking out my IMDb, and they're like, "Oh, dude, have you just been adding random credits on your IMDb?" I'm like, "No, I did my IMDb ages ago. I'll register a project on there, or like if I've just made something, I'll put it up." And I like to keep my IMDb, I like to have my credits there so people can see what I've made. And then I go on there, and I have composed a piece in 1993. I've acted in TV shows from like 10
80s.
years, but yeah,
Some of them were the 80s.
like more than a decade before I was born.
A Country Practice was in there.
Yeah. I don't even know what that is, man. Like I was born 10 years after half these
I
things.
know what a Country Practice is.
Yeah.
It's it's a show from the 80s.
and the guy was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Oh shit!" And I went on the website and I had a look, and I'm like, "What's going on here?" Basically, what's looked like happened is there's another David Hoey out there. Wow, who has done stuff, and IMDb's gone, well,
You're the same
if
person?
you're David Hoey, let's put
you-
you together and just waste having 2 pages. Let's just make them 1.
So you're like...
So I'm having an identity crisis here. I'm thinking, is there a past life? I don't know what's going on, but
So your IMDb is
I wish
like
David Hoey the best.
Is a
Wherever he
mutant
is.
clone of 2 David Hoys.
Yeah, which is so annoying as well, because like there's even times where I might, for the purposes of like showing someone my work, like recently with a web series that I made called Dave and Theo, myself and Nick Burton, we had to do a bunch of stuff that included sending stuff to producers and production companies about who we are, and I've linked my IMDb And I can only imagine some of them going on there and going, wow.
Wow, he's older than I thought. He is looking great for 45.
Yeah, so that's all a real confusing situation.
Yeah, man. Well, I hope it works out for you.
Well, I've emailed them. I've hit them up. IMDb, if you're watching this, fix that. It's causing me grief.
Well, you never know. You might get an acting role.
I might get a job out of it.
Yeah.
I might have a really good show reel.
Oh, my God. Oh, man, he looks amazing.
He's got range, this kid.
He's got range.
This kid, this adult, this grandpa.
This a child actor, now director.
Yeah, it's so confusing. Because that David Hoey as well, I've done research on him. He's like a window dresser. And there was a documentary, like a window. What's a window? Like if you type in David Hoey on Google, I didn't do it. Someone else did it, obviously. But anyway, if you type in David Hoey on Google, you're gonna find David Hoey, the window dresser, and I think that's him.
He's actually called the window dresser.
Yeah, I think
that's weird.
Yeah, I know. I feel like there might be a documentary there. Going to find this guy who's becoming my identity.
Well, lucky I have a really busy schedule because I would have totally gone into this and researched it and this is not David Hoey.
It's not me.
Well, no, it is David.
Who I want to be.
David Hoey, but it's not the David Hoey I know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So IMDb, man, get onto it. Get onto it. What are you guys doing? You got mutant clones out there.
There's more than one of us, and that's okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm okay with sharing a name.
But look, man, to just sort of square off with the last of your, or not the last, that's probably the worst way to put it, but your last screened film was Milo?
Yep.
Okay, so Milo, you've pulled away the glassware.
Yep.
It was Best Student Film?
Yeah, and Nick got Best Actor for it.
Yeah, man. Look, I've got to tell you, curating films for Made in the West, Milo certainly touched my heart. It's one of those things where you end up a little bit sad. You're like, oh, come on, buddy. Yeah. Well, look, I won't steal the thunder on it. Just tell us a little bit about Milo.
So basically, that was something, I mean, by this time, one of the really pivotal things in my filmmaking, my short filmmaking career, content creating career, was striking up a working relationship with Nick, he's just like a brother, but he's just so good at what he does, and we're always pushing each other to let's make something. And this was kind of a thing where I'd spent a lot of time in my childhood going down to the Snowy Mountains, and I always just thought it was the most beautiful place.
You went down, was it Jindabyne?
Yeah, so that was Jindabyne, Threadbow on the way as well, so going through Coomera and stuff like that. A lot of locations in that film. Yeah, but that's just the beauty of making a road trip film. That was literally a road trip. But that just came up as maybe a challenge. We had a week in a holiday break where we were both free, and I had this idea. That was just a one man story about a guy who takes his late friend's ashes on this last road trip before scattering them. And what if the complication is that this can of ashes starts talking to him, and this guy kind of having to differentiate, is this my friend actually talking to me? Is he going crazy and that sort of thing? But no matter what, at the end of it, he finds comfort and he learns something more about the fragility of friendship and not taking that sort of thing for granted. That's kind of what I wanted the audience to take away from it. So it started with the challenge of doing, going on a road trip, just me and him, me voicing what's in the Milo tin, Nick acting to a Milo tin. I shoot it, and we just go with it. We find the locations along the road as the characters would, and I think there was a real beauty in it. And I probably wouldn't do it looking at that poster. Yeah, that's kind of it. But yeah, I don't really see that as the way that I want to make all my films. But I feel like for that story, it was just the best way to do it because Nick is my best mate. We're on the road together, and we're basically telling this story that's pretty accurate to what we're actually experiencing at that time. We're on this road trip, and we learnt a lot on that road trip. That wasn't just filmmaking, but it was just a lot about our friendship and having to navigate weather, navigate different things that get in the way of our filmmaking.
Because it's quite arduous, some of the locations that you're on, because you were in cold locations, hot locations.
Yeah. Well, that was really... It wasn't challenging, but it was so different because so many things have different looks to them as you're going along the road, and I thought that was good for a film that was about like a journey of two characters, because you can kind of see them on this road. So you have a scrapyard in one of the scenes. That's a scrapyard in Canberra where we had to, a lot of these locations. What really helped us being able to do this, obviously, if you had a big crew, it's probably going to be harder to do it, and it's going to feel like less of a personal story.
Yeah, you're going to be more sluggish in moving between.
But
places,
like we were actually able to access a lot of these locations. Just because I have a camera, like I'm holding a camera, a tripod. Nick just had a lav on him the whole time. So there wasn't a soundy or anything. It was literally just me and him. And a lot of like landowners and people whose properties we shot on, they kind of just go, oh, well, I don't really see any reason why we can't let two kids come and shoot a little movie.
It's not too overt, and they're more compromising.
Yeah, and they probably didn't see, they probably couldn't imagine really the scale of what it was going to be, because we kind of egged it on to be like, we're coming through, we're just shooting a little art project for high school, and they're like, come on in, you little rascals.
You've gone in a bit meek, have you?
Yeah, you just undersell it, because if we're making a film that we want to send around the world, and as our calling card for our careers, they're going to be like, okay, if you take it that seriously, you could probably flick us a coin.
Yeah.
So I mean, that apart from food, I mean, I'm a big guy, so food's a big budget. Travel, petrol, for the motel as well. Like it was probably like $1,000 to do that, but I think after it was done, even it's really crazy to this day. Like even at the moment, I've just gone over and I'm doing some revisions. I redid my voiceover. I'm doing some more sound design to it, and then we're actually going to send it out to film festivals. Made in the West was really good because it actually encouraged me to realize that the effect that story has on people.
Yeah, it did. I think I think it was really well received, man. Like I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
You never know. You just like, I spend so many hours. I spend days, nights editing that thing, and then to get a reaction like that, you can sit with a piece of material for so long. And then you just get a totally fresh look at it once a whole
but that's it.
Cinema reacts to it.
Because you wrote the story.
Yeah.
You shot the story because you're the cinematographer for it. But let's even backtrack from there. Before you shot it, you've storyboarded it.
Yeah.
So you've written it, you've storyboarded it, you've shot it, then you've edited it.
Yeah.
You're just engulfed in this story. So it's really, I think, like when I do projects like that, which are most of my projects, because I think a lot of us are slashers. But when you get so engulfed in it, sometimes it's hard to see what it is as an audience member.
Yeah, that's why it's so important for film festivals, just to have a place to screen it. Like even if I feel like it wasn't ready for Made in the West, like people came away from that feeling like it was a pretty complete piece, and it gave me a new perspective. So I'm like, okay, I know what I need to change about the film, but also it's really good to know that it's worthwhile and it's actually touching people. Because well,
there's two parts I liked about that film the most.
Yeah,
right, was when I think he was in the bush and he ended up taking a leak on a tree. Yeah. And then the tree started talking to him. And
how would you like it if I pissed on you?
Like, yeah. And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And he's got the jitters from it, right?
Yeah.
And then I think ultimately, I don't want to spoil it actually. I can't say the other part that I like. I can't.
Do it.
You want me to do it?
Do it.
Okay, so
I'll let you know like right now if we're going to put a big beep over what you're saying.
All right.
Okay, go.
So the point where, or let me just put it this way.
Okay,
I'll put it this way,
yeah.
So it's a bit cryptic.
Okay, cool,
right?
cool.
Okay, so when it comes to the crescendo of the film, there's this really happy moment at the end where you just go, man, that is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Where you just feel elated and you're like, oh man, that was such a sad story to this point because there's all this frustration and torment in this guy that's just trying to get out of this tin.
Yeah.
And then once he gets to where he's going, you just, oh man, that's just really cool.
Yeah.
Mate, it puts a lump in your throat, man. It's just really cool.
Yeah.
I totally recommend it. When you do release it, because you've got to do the film circuit, you've got to do more of the circuit with it.
Yep.
But when it's out there, make sure you go and check out. You're going to put it on Granny Flat?
Yeah.
So if you put a link out there, because you're a Vimeo guy.
Well, it's kind of a. I mean, talking about identity before, it's like there's so many elements to Granny Flat, right? So we have Granny Flat Pictures, Granny Flat Comedy, but I think I will I probably will put that on YouTube because it still fits into the category of what we're trying to, at the end of the day, there's not really any category, it's just us doing us. You'll find that on Granny Flat. I really just want to release it.
But you can't yet, Dave. You can't.
I know.
Because that's a film that's got to do the circuit, man. You've definitely got to put it out there. But, talking of being slashers, right? Yeah. So, actually, let's go another direction. Another direction. All right. So you brought up comedy before.
Yeah.
So you're doing these comedies. I think one of them that grabbed me the other day was called Security Guards.
Yeah. Security Guards these days.
All right. So, what's motivating? You've got this one compartment of being the storyteller.
I can't eat chewing gum. My jaw's still shot from that shoot. That's it was like a 4-hour shoot, and I'm just going. My jaw's still. I still feel. You start going back into the character after you start.
Well, see, this is another element of your personality, though. Because you've got this one part of you that's this storyteller, that's making these movies, that are going into film festivals, and you're totally kicking goals doing it.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the ledger, well, you are, man. Yeah, you're doing a good job, man. But on the other ledger, you've got this other sort of outlet, because I can really see you you seem to release a lot. In terms of it being cathartic, like I've got to make this because it's a little bit funny. I want to do it.
Yeah.
So let's go into Security Guards. Why did you go out and just make this short clip?
Everything that I make and Nick makes on Granny Flat, it spans from a bunch of different things. So comedy is my outlet, usually to express frustrations or take the piss out of things that I just think are there's a lot of shitty people in the world, and I'm not saying the security guards are shitty people at all, but there's security guards out there that they take their position of power a little bit too seriously. So this is kind of based on a night out that I had with a couple mates, and we rock up to the door, and there's Secchies, and this guy takes my ID, and he just looks at my ID for 30 seconds, looking up and down. He knows I'm good to go in, but he just wants to
hold you up,
just hold me up and pick me up for absolutely everything. But a lot of the stuff on Granny Flat literally just comes out of observations of the world, because the world's just as soon as you open your mind, or as soon as I open my mind to everything, I'm like, well, I don't think I'll ever be dry on comedy content, because everything is so fucking ridiculous. So many people are just ridiculous. So I kind of just made Granny Flat because I have all these things. Either they're just going to sit in the back of my head and really make me a bitter person, or I can just get them out there. I don't know. Maybe because Granny Flat's kind of venting for me and Nick, but at the end of the day, it is about just making stuff and interacting with people and just expressing ourselves through characters and experimenting as well still. But
there's definitely that experimentation element to what you're doing in Granny Flat.
Well, because we still haven't been active. I mean, no, we've been active, but we've been active for less than a year. So we're obviously still trying to figure out our bearings and find different formats for different characters and seeing what clicks with audience, what doesn't. That's a really exciting thing as well, because there have been ideas we've had before where we go into it naive, there'll be a topic that's really hot, and we're like, man, this is the one that's going to get shares. This is going to be a viral hit, man. And then that's just the delusional side of yourself, because you can never really speak on the audience's behalf.
No, you can't.
So there'll be a thing with that. I'm like, oh, that's bulletproof, man. And then someone's like, yeah, it was. It was cool. It was well shot. I'm like, yeah, that's Julian.
But what about the context?
Yeah, what about the content? What about the context?
Yeah.
And you learn from that, and that's really good, because also numbers. You don't have the people there, but numbers don't lie online. The engagement doesn't lie online. If it's not getting shared and people aren't really interacting with it, then maybe there's something you didn't do right, and that's the beauty of being able to take risks and learn at the beginning, because at the moment we're still in our learning stages. We know that there's characters that people enjoy, we hear them, and we know that there's stuff that doesn't click with people, and you'll never see one of those sketches again. And that's not because we're like, oh, we're just giving up.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to I actually think there is an element of people pleasing, because I do want people to actually enjoy content. If they're taking time out of their day, I want them to come and actually
come and watch
stuff they like. I don't have any shame in admitting that, but like there is some stuff that I'm like, well, you know, we could probably like shoot this and do it on our own and just keep it on a hard drive. But at the end of the day, it's not going to do anything online. It's not really going to.
Yeah, but why not put it out there?
Exactly.
You may as well put it out there.
That's why. Yeah.
And I think that's the other side of having a bit of gusto, chutzpah, whatever you want to call it, is about actually publishing your content, seeing how it trails, seeing how it does. Yeah, well, there's another one that really got me laughing. It was that I think it was Christmas. It must have been because it was a Christmas video.
Yeah,
about getting a present.
How to react to a bad Christmas present.
Yeah. Because everyone's been in that situation.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Okay, because so I have to rephrase this on my family and friends' behalf because I love getting presents at Christmas. Everyone loves getting presents at Christmas, but yeah. That's not a frustration. That's not from frustration. I'm not a greedy.
You are looking at the funny side of it.
Exactly. Everyone's got that thing where you get a present from a certain someone, from a certain extension of your family or the immediate family sometimes, and it's just that materialistic side of you that maybe the present wasn't exactly the thing you're getting, or maybe you feel like it missed the mark a little bit. But you're always grateful. You're always grateful. You love people. You love the thought. But there's always like a part of you that goes, I don't really know what this is for, you know, and it's how to react to that. So I watched that, you know, Masterclass, the website that does all the Masterclass stuff. There's all the promo videos are really like, you've got this one person who's just egged up to be such an expert on stuff. And that one was based off this poker player called Daniel Negreanu, who made there was a trailer for like a poker, how to be a good poker player. And it was coming up to Christmas, and I do like making content that's relevant to certain times, because you know that's also part of it. Like we want to make stuff, but I also like to make
relevance.
And there's definitely a slate for our projects, so we want to get engagement and we want to reach out to people, and sometimes that's just going with the trend. So I thought that, you know, taking the format of something like a tutorial, acting like an expert on how to react to shit Christmas presents. Was something that people could find funny. So
I totally related to it. I think because it threw up a memory with me, and the memory it threw up with me was someone gave me this bottle of wine.
Yeah,
right. And I'm going, I don't really want this bottle of wine.
Yeah, but how do you react to it?
Well, no, I regifted it, and I regifted it to my sister.
Yeah.
If you're out there, Laura, shout out, right? But,
wow.
No, I regifted it to her, and here's where it gets funny.
Okay.
Right. 2 years later, she regifted it to me. And I'm like,
wow. But now it's aged wine. What a present.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing. This bottle of wine that no one really wanted.
Yeah.
And I have no idea the history before I got it. Because it could have been clearly regifted before I got it. And no one wanted. It was just a shitty bottle of Shiraz that no one wanted. That's done the rounds of different Christmases and birthdays, and eventually ended up back with me.
But that's kind of the really cool thing about it, though. Because don't you reckon you're talking about your shit Christmas presents more than the good ones you got? Yeah. So I can talk about in my childhood how I got this I got a remote control car I really wanted, but that's as far as the story goes. Or I can say my grandparents bought me bed sheets for the first 10 years of my life, and we made a joke out of that, and that was actually like a point of conversation at family gatherings, and we all just used to revel in that, but it actually gave us so much more joy.
There was several more threads off that.
And those things will never go away. The memories of bad Christmas presents, and likewise with your story, how you've passed around a bottle of wine for however many years. Like, that's so much better than getting a good present. Maybe getting shit Christmas. Maybe I've done a disservice. Maybe I'm discouraging people from actually getting presents that might go either way.
Yeah, having a negative effect on the gift-giving nature of Christmas. What have you done, Dave?
Well, you know, like it's not like this went unnoticed by my family as well. Like dead set. So
you've been pulled up about it.
Christmas was a nightmare for me because what do you think's going to happen? All my family's family, they're going to watch my stuff because they're the most supportive people that I'll have ever on my side.
Yeah.
They all watch this. Christmas comes to my turn to get the presents, and it just comes back to bite me in the ass. Everyone's looking at me, and I'm like, shit, I've given away all my tips online, so I literally just like I'm fucked. Like I can't do anything. If I get a bad present, And what do? I can't do the, oh, yeah, thanks for that. Oh, this is so good. Thank you. I really wanted this. I can't do any of that.
So you've created a transparency. There's no way around it.
No, and I didn't prepare for it either. But it was really funny because my girlfriend's auntie and uncle, we went over for Christmas at their house, and they took a screen grab of this and turned it into a present for me. And it was just a collection of like, oh, it was actually a really good present. But
That's all right.
Yeah. But they turned it into like a take the piss out of me. So I was kind of taking the piss out of people who get shit presents, but then they turned it into like a fuck you for.
Well, here's a shit present. That
yeah.
hashtag isn't a shit present, but it's intended. It's intended to be.
It started
a shit
off as they did that present. Thing because their family, they do a thing where they get you like a shit like a joke present, and then they get you a serious present, and that was the joke present, which was a shit present, and then they come out and give me like the best thing of all time.
Yeah. Well, oh gosh, man! Like, well, going from comedy and doing short films, doing some festival circuits, man. I think I brought up before about being a slasher. So you're directing stuff. Before you direct it, you get to write it. Some of the stuff that you're acting in, you're doing voiceovers for.
Yep.
Do you find it hard to separate those sort of echelons and compartments of being an artist, like between being a director, a writer, and an actor?
Well, it kind of depends. So with my comedy stuff, director, writer, actor, it's all like a symbiotic relationship, because at the end of the day, everything I'm doing there is trying to serve the character. And specifically, if I've written it, I know the nuances in that character, so it all works together. And even the way it's shot, like when I'm talking to the cine, all of that will reflect the character. But when it comes to say writing a short film that's about a different character, then that becomes how can I best tell this story? How can I best direct other people to make this vision come to life? And how can this pop off the page? So, the more personal projects and like stuff like the comedy side of things, I think it all kind of works together. But and with like documentary as well, it's about finding the best way to tell the story, the most engaging way to tell the story, and just to do it right. So it's hard. Actually, I'll admit I don't have it down pat. I don't think I'll ever really have it down pat.
I don't think anyone does, but we give it a red hot shot, right? Like,
yeah, well, that's all you can really do.
But, I just find it interesting to how people separate that, because I don't know, just especially even from being a director to an editor, because it's a different feel, right? So when you're directing, you're getting you're fabricating or making a performance, and you're trying to get the best out of people.
Well, yeah, like this is the thing that I am working on right now, and everyone's said it. Like, well, not everyone, but people who I ask their opinion, and I'm happy to say it. Like, the stuff that I write and the stuff that I direct, and then maybe even when it comes to the performance of certain things, whether it be a short film or the comedy, you gotta Garth Davis, the guy who directed Lion. I asked him a question at a Q&A, like, what's a bit of advice for a filmmaker? He's like, you got to know to kill your babies.
That's really good advice.
Yeah. So
that is actually really good advice
within the context of the cutting room.
Yeah. Context is very important there, people.
So basically, for people who didn't figure that one out, killing babies is just like, stop being so
not being
indulgent.
Precious. Don't be precious.
Don't be precious, but also don't keep all the stuff that you think's God's greatest gift in the content world. Like,
if it sticks out, it sticks out. You
got to make the content tight. And if you find something amusing, because at the end of the day, like, something that's really important with making comedy is you got to find it funny personally. But sometimes me and Nick will be like, oh, this is fucking hilarious, but then we'll show people and they'll be like, oh, that bit was a bit long. Like, it's really easy to, in the world of content creation and even filmmaking, to be in the editing room and go, that doesn't serve the story, get rid of it, because you wrote it, you spent time on it, and you loved it.
Yeah, you had investment into it.
Exactly.
Whether that's time or money or intellect.
Yeah, I think that's easily one of, if not my biggest flaws as a filmmaker. Where a film could be 10 minutes, or it could be 8 minutes. It goes 11 minutes, or it runs long because I love a certain scene with a certain something.
And you wanted to keep it. You just
want to keep it so bad.
Yeah,
I'll always want it there.
Because there's been some scenarios where I've written and directed something, or I've taken someone else's script and then I've directed it, and I must say they are different experiences.
Yeah.
They are very different. To bring someone else's dream to fruition,
Yep.
I find is very different. Bringing your own dream, I find there's an ease to it, but there's also that pressure of being precious.
Yeah.
When you're working on someone else's work, you have a tendency not to be so precious.
Yeah.
And the other side of it is as well for me, directing and then editing. Documentaries is a little bit different. I think that's something that you have this passionate heart to.
Yeah, you can only do so much.
That's right. You're going to deliver it in a way that is honourable and then still tells the story.
Yeah.
But when you're doing fictitious stuff, that's where you can't be precious.
Yeah.
I love handing stuff over to an editor. I just love handing when you've directed something, or even when you've written and directed something. Handing it off to someone else to edit is a scenario where they're going to be like cutthroat.
Yeah,
they're going to go, doesn't fit.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I'm trying to work on at the moment as well, because obviously the quickest way to ever get something done is to do it yourself, right? Because you've got your own deadlines and that sort of thing. So with my short film, for example, Milo, I cut myself because I have the footage. It's with me. I'm going to do it. With Granny Flood as well, it's like I know what the deadlines are. I can meet those deadlines because it's mine and Nick's business, is our brand, and it's our responsibility to get this stuff done. But that also sacrifices getting that outside perspective. So obviously I'm working on getting other editors involved in that sort of thing.
Yeah, you got to enroll
I need to do that more, to work with editors and get that thing where someone can like an editor can just turn around and go, that's just like, that's shit. This bit doesn't do anything.
Well, the comparison,
and then I can complain about it. But then at the end of the day,
it's you.
Collaboration's really important, and I got to work on that.
Yeah, I think we all do, but I look at it from a perspective of it's kind of like a band, man. You know, you've got different components to the band.
Yeah.
But you can go into a pub and have a drum machine and just play guitar and sing, right?
You got a band, don't you?
Yeah. But I just to backtrack a little bit, what I resonate with Day Without Play.
Yeah.
2 years before that, I wrote a song with the band, not entirely on my own, of course. I just wrote the lyric lines for a song, and it was called King for a Day.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched that movie. I reflect on the work that I've done previously. I go, well, King for a Day is about sitting in. You know how they have those real comfortable chairs for poker machines?
Yeah.
And you sit in it, and then they'll come round and offer you drinks.
Yeah.
They'll allow you to smoke indoors.
Yeah.
Like they say, there's a roof that has ventilation.
Yeah.
You're smoking indoors.
Yeah.
And the rule is sort of like manipulated so that you can smoke inside of a pub. The only way you can smoke in a pub is if you're in a pokie room.
Yeah.
Because any other smoke has to go outside.
Yeah.
Right? So you're king for a day. You're sitting in this throne where people are bringing you drinks, where you can smoke and break the rules.
Yeah.
The rules.
Yeah.
And you can sit in there all day just pushing this little button, and you feel like a king because your dopamine's going because you're watching this screen in front of you that's even celebrating your losses. So you do like a 20-cent bet, but you win 10 cents. It goes off.
Yeah.
It even celebrates you losing.
Yeah.
So it gives you that reinforcement of, and that's perfect for a gambler. I can't imagine a better business where people show up, dump their money, and leave.
It's bulletproof.
It is totally bulletproof.
It just comes at the expense of other people's lives.
But I guess when I do a heavy metal version of it, I'm like screaming in people's faces, you're king for a day. Wake up to yourself. That's what that song's about. And when I go and watch a film like yours, A Day Without Play, you go, that's what he's on about. But he's taken you've taken a different approach to that same idea. And I think a lot of us are out there that are telling these stories, that are doing these documentaries, that are doing these films to have a voice.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's what it's about. When you're putting something on the internet where you're getting hits or no hits, whatever it is, you've made it for a reason. When you're putting something into a film festival, you've made it for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not an accident. Like, there may be accidental tendencies to it and attributes to it, but ultimately it's a targeted thing. You know, and that's why I appreciate what you were saying about you know, a day without play is because you go, if I just focused it a little bit more in this direction, I could have had more of a voice. And I totally dig that, you know, because that's what it's about. It's about finding your voice. And like for someone, you know, someone who's a part of Still Searching or doing Made in the West, we're about promoting those voices to give rise.
You're doing a killer job.
Yeah, thanks, man. Because I really appreciate that because like we're trying to give a platform to people that don't necessarily have the platform. I'm not saying we're hard done by. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we need to celebrate, and I think that's more of I'd rather count what we've got. I'd rather celebrate what we're doing. Rather than trying to bang on a door that ain't ever going to open. You know, we may as well build what we've got. Because we've got all these talents around us, man. Like, you know, you were on E Street, you're doing composing. You know, we're doing all these things, right?
I've been in this industry for a minute,
Before you were born, right? No, but, you know, jokes aside, I think we're doing all these cool things that we need to represent. And I think there's a democratic process to it. It's not, I'm not saying that, you know, there's, even in documentaries, that there's a journalistic, you know, side to that. You're telling a real story. But I also think even doing satire, you know, also has a journalistic tendency to it. Has that attribute where you're having a say about something that's difficult to talk about. You know, and as filmmakers, especially in our region, we should be doing these things. Because, man, if you do a cross section across Western Sydney, you're going to find all kinds of people.
Ridiculous,
it's
right?
ridiculous, right?
And that was one of the things that I was actually kind of closed-minded to, because admittedly, I'm from Western Sydney, but the Hills District is completely different to Liverpool. It's different to Blacktown. It's different to every other part, and it's just a melting pot of cultures, experiences, everything. And that is just opportunity. There's gold mines everywhere around us. So by celebrating these stories and films and sketches and these new up-and-coming production companies, it's just enabling, empowering people to go, fuck it, to hell with it, I'm going to tell my story. And by doing that, they're encouraged to put this stuff out there, and everyone's like, wow, that's what life's like there. Wow, that's an experience that people have. You know, we can be so, you know, we watch stuff in the States. You can watch Breaking Bad and you're like, well, Albuquerque's a quirky little town. But it's like, we have stuff here as well that can resonate with people beyond neighbours. But beyond Home and Away.
Well, I think this is
not to shit on them. I'd love a crew role.
We'd love a gig on that.
I'd love
Neighbours.
a gig on. I like it.
I'm more of a Home and Away fan, actually.
Home and Away?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to hand it to them. They're grinding. If you want to talk about on their hustle, on their grind, that's a long-running TV show for a very long time. That's kept the town very interesting. No, look, no, again, I totally agree. We need to get these voices out there. And I think there are so many things that are going for our region, right? There's excuse me. I know, I'm getting the burps as well.
I'm feeding us too much beer. Frothies, mate. Oh, no. See, no, I mean as in beer.
Yeah, like frothy beer.
But I think there's so much talent in Western Sydney, and as well, it's just accessible, right? There's the technological side where you can access cameras, and you can access computers, software that is totally within reach. And there's enough education in the region, enough expertise in the region. But aside from that, we have the region itself. You know, you can go to Campbelltown, man, and you could be at a picket fence. You could be at a rail yard. And the parking is free. You know.
Ridiculous filmmaking. Oh man,
so fucking easy in this town.
This all the time.
Like, filmmaking's hard, but it's easy in this region.
Yeah, like, I mean, I go to afters in the city, dead in the middle of the city, right next to Fox Studios, and obviously when you're in the inner west, this is like the hotspot for like filming and locations, because it's kind of got a bit of a groove to it. It's got a bit of a funk, and don't get me wrong, things in the inner west and the city have a unique, unique tone that are appealing to filmmakers and film audiences, but you know, filmmaking, the process of filmmaking there, because it's such an exercised region for filmmaking, you know, businesses are like, well, there'll be $1,000 for the day. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
and like that's the thing.
That's totally hand over fist.
Yeah, but like that's the reality of filmmaking. There's always going to be you should be paying for locations. You should be paying for everything. It's good for everyone to pay the bills, especially if you're going to use their facilities. But I've just found, even with like free parking, like it's so expensive to do stuff in the city. It's hard to find a park in the city, let alone get a truck or a van in there. In Western Sydney, literally in my local area, I needed a theatre for a proof of concept that I made for a TV series called The Understudy, and I looked at all these theatres that they didn't really have that much character in the city. Not to rag on them, but they wanted ridiculous amounts of money for something that was kind of like it was just a change room. For a change room, they wanted $500 a day. Again, I get that. That's fine. But I'm talking about the generosity of Western Sydney right now. That's what I'm promoting. I went to my local theatre that has a full theatre setup. They were opening a play the next night. They had no right to let us in there and do stuff because something goes wrong. Their play's fucked
for the next day. Yeah.
They're like, yeah, no worries. Here's the key. And just lock up after you're done.
No, it's really good that they did that for you, man. Like, to let you on, to give you the space and risk it fucking it up for them.
Yeah. It's just, the generosity. And it comes down to maybe the fact that it comes down to people in Western Sydney actually wanting to be involved. People actually want to nurture these stories. Like, even at the moment, I'm trying to find a change room for my grad film. And I want to do that in Western Sydney. Even that process, I'm trying to get these change rooms in the city. These people won't even reply to your email. Here, they're like, well, that's cool. You can come shoot your movie here. Like, it's...
But they do, though. They do.
It's so good.
They do respond.
And they make it really easy. And that's why next year, when I'm looking at making... I mean, I don't mean to jump to the what we're doing next year section. I don't want to give too much away, but I want to make a super...
It's on my list, Dave.
Yeah, well, I want to make a web series based in Western Sydney next year, and I'm not sweating that for a second. I'm not sweating the budget. I'm not sweating... I mean, there will be a budget behind it, but
you're not going to get hosed over on it. And
I'm not going to get hosed over, and I know that it's not going to be a stressful thing reaching out to people who live here to get involved, because I think everyone here is genuinely passionate about telling the story of their community.
Well, it's like what you were saying out when you were doing Milo, out in this regional area talking about doing films, and people are generally okay with it.
Same thing, yeah.
As long as you don't oversell it too much. I dig that part of it, because when I've gone into regional parts of New South Wales and different states, they are usually pretty willing to let you shoot on their property. I think big shout out to Cobar when we were out there shooting on... there's been 2 shoots that we've done out there.
Really?
We just rocked up to this dude's farm and we're like, man, do you mind if we start shooting like a revenge fantasy?
Right, go ahead. Go ahead.
It was a revenge fantasy. He goes, what are you doing? We're like, well, we're going to beat this guy to death with a hammer. And then he survives and runs away.
And he's like, that sounds gnarly, mate.
That's all right.
I actually heard a story fucking a couple of years ago where that happened. Is this a documentary you're making or what? I mean, it's like it's the same kind of thing. But there's also an element of, okay, once you lock it down, you really want to do right by the people that own these properties and that sort of thing. Something going on?
No, I'm just checking time.
Oh, true. How are we going for time?
Oh, man, we almost burned all of the cards.
Okay, cool. So, pretty much, like, it becomes a thing of just, like, trying to not tread on their toes as well. So, like, my sound guy, Alfie, will be like, oh, he's mowing his paddock. And I really need this sound clean. So he has to go and tell the guy who actually has to get something done to just hold off for a second.
I know this is your property and your space,
but you got to stop what you're doing.
You got to cut that shit out.
Yeah, it's hard. But like, you just be respectful about it, and that's all good.
Well, that's it. I think politeness is free. Being courteous costs nothing.
Just be nice.
And
just get you everywhere in life.
It totally will, man. You don't need to be a dickhead about things, But look, man. I know we're running out of time. But there's a few things I want to cover before we go.
Let's do it.
Okay, so winning, the student award from last year for Made in the West.
Yep.
We've been promoting like Made in the West TV.
Yeah.
You got to experience Made in the West TV.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience of Made in the West TV.
Well, what specifically the special?
Yeah, well, not specifically the special. Like just going from winning the award and then getting like the cool scenario where we get to do this thing. Because I got to tell you, man.
Yeah.
WSU are giving us this space, and we are totally capitalising on that space. We're doing a justice to the filmmakers.
Again, good people doing nice things.
Yeah, that's it, man. Because it's about synergy, right?
Look at that head. God. They have makeup on me as well.
Yeah, I know. Man, I'm not even going to go into the logistics of this.
Yeah,
I won't go into the logistics of it. But with that said, though, we got to do a full television shoot as a talk show.
Yeah.
Did you have a good time on the show? That's what I'm asking.
I did. I had a good time on it. But like that was the first time that I kind of had the experience of having to take redo something that was meant to be organic. So like I couldn't, for some reason, summarize it's an awful thing. I wasn't able to synthesize what my film was about, and having to answer that question. So if you ask me what the film was about, I'm like, the first answer I'd give is, it's about a friend who takes his late friend's ashes on a road trip to scatter them. His friend begins talking to him, and it makes him, question whether he's...
So a synopsis.
Yeah. Well, that was an awful synopsis with a lot of ends and likes. But
I'm an
the first time it's going to be more casual. But I couldn't do it right, and then there's something went wrong, or maybe I was slouched over and something like that, and I have to do it again. Then suddenly I'm like, the film Milo is a film about a man who goes on a road trip with his late friend. It wasn't that bad. It's I don't know why I'm poshing it up, but
but it's really nice to talk to someone who's just as self-critical, man.
Yeah,
we beat ourselves up over these things.
Otherwise, the last thing I want to be in this life is someone who doesn't rock with their flaws, or egg myself up to be a perfect person, because I'm never gonna be. But it's just about developing that sort of thing, and I really enjoy. I think it's so sick that you gave us a platform to talk about stuff, and the two guys I was sitting next to did some hella good stuff.
Andrew Lee and Maddie C. Villa. What a crew! What
destroyers.
Yeah, man. But look, we've got it coming out again this year.
Yeah.
So for the top 3 winners, we'll have the show and then the platform again this year, which is really good. So thank you very much, WSU.
Yeah.
But before we go, Dave, before we go, what projects have you got on the boil at the moment? Are you in post-production, production? Where are you at?
Okay, so I got post-production for Milo, so I'm just putting the finishing touches on that. Going to shoot it off to the film festival circuit. I'm still making stuff for Granny Flat. We're trying to get into the groove again because film school got a bit intense, and Nick's in LA at the moment, meeting with big rigs and that sort of thing.
Sounds bloody horrible.
Yeah, sounds awful.
Jerk. Big shout out, mate.
So we filmed a bunch of content before he left, so we could keep it on the boil and keep weekly stuff coming out. But the closest thing to happening, I'm also in post production on A Fortunate Life, the documentary about tomorrow that I was telling you about before. I'm making my grad film for Afters in less than a month, shooting on the 26th, and it's the story of basically that soccer coach, or that parent that was just a bit too passionate on the weekend.
Oh yeah,
if you can think, you got him.
Yeah, I know exactly. Who you're talking
think about them. Put them in the change room after a game, abusing a team of 8-year-olds in a one shot, and then suffering the consequences of his actions afterwards when he's trying to console his son. So it's like this tight 8-minute one-shot short film.
Funny but heavy.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's hilarious. But that's kind of heavy.
That's kind of where I'm marching these days with these short films. They're funny, but oh shit, bit of a lump in my throat.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm trying to do. Might not work for some people, might work for some people, but that's the most immediate thing. And then
what about Dave and Theo?
Theo.
Yeah.
Well, that was a great learning experience, because that was for myself and Nick and Lawrence. Lawrence was a massive part of that. Basically, I actually struggled with figuring out how to go from doing a lot of this short stuff, the skits, the short films, into making longer form content, because at the end of the day, that's where most people see stuff. The feature films, the episodic these days is taken off with all the new streaming platforms and that sort of thing. So I really wanted to make episodic. We had this web series on the boil for so long. It started as a Trop Fest short film, then Nick extended it out, extended the characters. He wrote it originally. I came in, we jazzed up the web series together, we co-everythinged it, and pretty much that was just us going, let's try and prove to people that we can create characters that can span over the course of an hour, or prove to ourselves that we can tell a story that goes over an hour that has an arc. And whether we did it or not, it's kind of up to the audience, but we did a screening and people really liked it.
Man, that takes a lot of work.
It took fucking heaps of work.
that takes, like, between each element of that, that's just, it's a lot of work.
But like, that was something that we really enjoyed, because that was such a massive learning experience. That was a month shoot, just like straight, just us.
Wow.
And it just relied on a lot of really good actors, really good people. And in the end, I'd look back on it really fondly. But the good thing about that is that at the moment we are in the process of trying to turn this into a series, like a television series.
Yeah.
So at the moment, that's another thing that's on the boil. We're trying to build up a pitch deck for Dave and Theo and try and prove to the big rigs with money in their wallet
we can get it done.
That we can get this done. And and I guess as far as next year goes, when I'm out into the big bad world, I'm working on this web series that I want to make next year. It's a superhero web series, so I get that out of my system. I can get that the fan in me out of my system.
You can scratch that itch.
Exactly. And then I want to be, I'll be full time with Granny Flat, so that's going to be
it's the ultimate dream, make the production company full time.
Exactly. So basically, just the past 2 years I've been trying to make this platform. Now we're going to use it.
Well, Dave, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on the show. I've really enjoyed this episode.
I've loved it, mate.
Man, I enjoy your work. What you're doing out there,
Thank you.
kicking goals. Please keep kicking goals. Please keep coming back to Maine in the West, and please keep inspiring the dudes and girls out there about what you're doing. And look, if you want to check out more about Dave Hoey, you can check him out on Facebook on Granny Flat.
Yep.
Granny Flat Comedy, Granny Flat Pictures, and you also got Patreon as well, right? You're doing some Patreon?
Yeah, some of that won't hurt,
Get onto Patreon and check these guys out, man, because they're kicking some goals, all right? So, but once again, Dave, thank you so much for being on the show.
Cheers, Roscoe. I appreciate it.
Right, no worries. That's it. We're done, brother. Let's cut.
Beautiful.